Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about two important data definitions in the MDX language. Okay, so before we go into those data definition language, the functions, the DDLs that I talked about it, let me give some background to explain you how we created the new measures or calculated members in the cube. Okay, so usually we do that, creating the calculated measures and members in the Visual Studio within the cube. So where you can see under the calculations tab, and then we set all the properties and provide the formula for that calculation, and then we do the deployment of the cube. So that's how normally we do it, and the user will browse those measures or members in his application. That is the normal method that we follow. But not only that, so in addition to that, we can also create, there are two types of the uh, calculated measures in the cube. Okay, which is nothing but calculated members. So the one is the session based, session scoped member, other one is the query scoped member. So what is this session based member is nothing but, so for example, I'm the user. Okay, so I open this SSMS session. This is my current session, and here I want to define some complex measures or write a complex MDX query in to fulfill my business requirement, right? So if I start writing that complex query, maybe I will stuck in somewhere to achieve my what data I'm looking for, or maybe we get end up with performance issues, or there can be a lot of pros and cons. So in those scenarios, what I can do, maybe if there are some kind of measures, if you define one time, then you will be using the across remaining queries in your session, right? So there might be the such scenarios. Um, so those scenarios, actually, these both session and query scoped members, these functions will helpful, very helpful. Okay, so let's go into one scenario. Okay, so maybe to explain in detailed way, what is the difference between this create member and with member? Because create member is the session scope member, whereas the query with member is the query scope member. Let's take the example. So I have here the reseller sales amount, which I'm fetching from my sample database. So now you can see here my total reseller sales amount for all the years is 80 million. Okay, 80 millions around. Okay, now I want to uplift my reseller sales amount uh, by 2%. Okay, after uplifting those reseller amount, I want to add that uplift value to my original reseller amount, reseller sales amount. That is my requirement. Okay, so usually I can achieve this requirement by writing the with member. Okay, because I mean this requirement is only specific to my reports. Okay, so none of other business user didn't ask for it. It's only my requirement. So I want to create it in my data feed. Okay, so now what I can do, so I can use the with member, which is the query scoped calculation, that I can create it here, and then create a new measure and use that measure to see my total sales amount as well as my uplift sales amount. Okay, so now you can execute, we can execute this query. Now you can see this is my original reseller sales amount. Combining with my uplift value 2%, this is my new reseller sales amount. Okay, so this is how I achieve this scenario. But if I want to reuse this uplift reseller sales amount measure, what I created in this query, in the second query, if I try to use it, I mean, this query here, what I'm trying to do, I want to again whatever the uplift value I have calculated in the previous query, I want to again do the uplift by another 2%. Okay, that is my requirement. So now if I start executing, okay, you can see here I created another measure using the with member, second term uplift reseller sales amount, and then here I'm using the original reseller sales amount and uplift reseller sales amount by multiplying the 2%. Now let's see what will happen. So this time we will get the error because whatever we created the measure, the with member measure in this query is only for within this query specific. Once the query execution completes, it's automatically implicitly deleted from the cache. Okay, so that is the difference with member. But when it comes to the create member, it works for the entire session. Now let's see how the create member works. Okay, create member here, let's say I have created two calculated members here. The one is my uplift rate. So in the previous queries, I hard coded this value, right? Now this time, I want to make it dynamic, the uplift rate. Okay, I mean, I want to make it this value as a dynamic because in future, if I change this value and entire my rest of the queries automatically get calculated with the new value. That is my expectation. Okay, so for that reason, I created the one calculated member on my session. Okay, this is my calculated member. Um, so now it's completed, right? So you can see here. Uh, it's created new calculated member. To create a new calculated member, this is syntax. So I'm in the AdventureWorks DW cube solution. Under that, I'm in the AdventureWorks cube. So you need to specify which cube in under the which cube we want to create this new measure. We need to mention that, and then you need to mention the what is this family of these measures. So it should be under the measures dimension, and then what is the measure name. This is a syntax, and you can map the values in case if you want to format string, you want to apply any format string, you can do that. Okay, so that is also possible. You can do this way, but now let me delete this format string for now. Okay, now so along with this uplift rate, I also created one more measure called uplift reseller sales amount. Here I'm multiplying the uplift rate with my reseller sales amount and then summing up with my original reseller sales amount. Okay, now I created one more calculated measure on session based. You can see here it's executed successfully. Now, um, now in my another query, I want to create the second term uplift reseller sales amount using this particular measure. Okay, so you can see here I created with member calculated measure. Under that, I used the original reseller sales amount and then uplift reseller sales amount and the uplift rate. Now, if I execute this, so see what will happen. Now, you can see here I got the second term uplift reseller sales amount, and then I got the uplift reseller sales amount, then original reseller sales amount. Right. So now it's a proof that the create member is created the session based measure, and you can use that measures across the entire session. Right. So even if I want to use this session based measure that I created here in the different MDX window, I cannot. So let's see what will happen, what error we will get it. Okay, so where is that measure? Let's see. This is my uplift rate. Now you can see here, this is working here where I can see what is my uplift rate. But if I copy this statement, put it in new session, then here it will fail. Okay, so remember that this session based is not global. It's based on the user specific, and within the session these create member measure calculated measures will work. Okay, so now moving on to that next part. So okay, great. So I created the create uh, I mean new calculations, many new calculations, right? And how do I clean up? House cleanup is very important, right? So now if I want to drop that created calculated member, I use this syntax. Okay, so where I mentioned drop, instead of create I use the draw member, and then my cube name, sorry, measure group, and then my measure name. So now if I execute this, that's it. So my calculated member, the session based calculated member, is dropped. Now you can see it's no more exist, right? So now instead of drop, let's say I want to update my uplift rate from 0.02, I mean 2% to 4%. So now what will happen? Let me create the uplift rate column first, measures first, right? Executed. Now you can see here the uplift rate executed. And then again, I want to update the uplift rate from 2% to 4%. That's it. So now let's see what results we get it here. See, the uplift rate is updated with the new 4% value, right? So you can execute, you can do that updation, okay, when during the runtime. I mean, there might be the scenarios, right? So maybe in the first set of calculation, you want to use certain rates, and then when you move on to the remaining queries, you want to use the different rates. So those scenarios, the updated member statement will be very helpful. Okay, even here I updated with further, so 0.0, I mean 6%. Then you can see here, you can the value you can here. Okay, so this is how you can create the session based calculations, cube calculation, and you can play with the drop update. Okay, so eventually you will create a lot of calculations within your session, right? Sometimes it's very difficult to drop all of them, right? So in those scenarios, you can use the clear calculation. This is another DDL MDX statement within the MDX. Now, by executing this statement, it will clear off all my session-based calculations. Okay. Now let's see. Since I executed clear calculation, now let's see whether we have uplift rate. No, there is no more uplift rate. Or do we have another uplift reseller sales amount calculation? No. See, this is how we clear all calculations. Okay, so just echoing one more time, the create member is like a more session scoped, and it works like if you compare with normal SQL, it works like a hash temp table in the SQL database. Okay, and it's implicitly deleted when the session is closed. Okay, as soon as I close this session, these members automatically clear from the cache. Whatever the cache, the cube cache is allocated for my session, it will get deleted. And even the with member, again, it's a query scoped. Okay, it will be implicitly deleted as soon as the query execution is completed. Okay, so this is about these two important MDX data definition. So with that, thank you for your time.